All right, so last part that comes along with the trig is talking about law of sine, law of cosine, and area of an oblique triangle. So there's three formulas here. When we talk about sine and cosine, that applies to non-right triangles. Typically, I would say, and you're finding missing sides and you're finding missing angles. So on a typical triangle, if you have an angle, say A, then across from A is going to be little a. If you have angle B, across from angle B is going to be little b. And if you have angle C, across from angle C is going to be little c. So the lowercase letter is going to be across from the uppercase letter. So the formula for law of sine is the sine of angle A over little a equals the sine of angle B over little b, and the sine of angle C over little c. Now, what you need to keep in mind is you are going to use two of these at a time. At a time. So you're not using all three of them, well, because we're trying to make a proportion. Now, how you decide whether you're going to use the law of sine or not is you look for these three scenarios. So you either have angle, angle, side, ASA, or SSA backwards. So keep in mind we're not proving congruence here. All it's based off of what information am I starting with. So if you look at the first problem here, we have an angle, and a side. So that's your AAS scenario. So we know we're going to use the law of sine. So what might be helpful to you is to make yourself a little chart on the side with the information that you have. So we have A, we have B, and we have C. So angle A is 97, little a is 16. B we don't have, little b we don't have. Angle C is 21, and little c is x. So given that we have nothing in regards to B, we're scratching the B. So what we're going to use for this one is we're going to say, all right, the sine of angle A over little a equals the sine of C over little c. B doesn't play a part. And I'm going to sub in the values, and that's where this proportion comes from. And then at that point, it becomes a cross multiplication. So again, remember, you never put more than one number next to each other. So we get, if I write it over here, x times the sine of 97 equals 16 times the sine of 21, not the sine of 21 times 16. 16's got to come first. And then you're going to divide by the sine of 97. So you do 16 times sine 21, get an answer, divide it by 97, sine of 97, and you should be getting somewhere in the ballpark of 5.8 for that side length because we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So besides just sides, you can also get angles, but you approach it the same way. So we have our triangle. I'm going to make my little chart here and see what I have to work with. So I have angle H is 48, little h is 8, angle K is X, little k is 10, and I got nothing for J. So J, I'm scratching. So I'm going to do sine of H over little h equals the sine of K over little k, and I'm plugging in all the information. I then cross multiply. So I get 10 times the sine of 45 equals 8 times the sine of X. I'm going to divide by 8. And then I have the sine of x. So at this point, this is where you have to hit second sign on the calculator because we want the sign to the negative one with the parentheses to pop up, and then you're going to type in this fraction. Just I would put parentheses around the numerator for sure, and you should be getting in the ballpark, because we were rounding to the nearest degree, 62 degrees for a final answer for that. So that's law of sine. Law of cosine, you use it when you have SAS or SSS. Okay, and these are your three formulas that you're going to work with. So the connections that you can make is if it starts with little a, it ends with angle A. If it starts with little b, it ends with angle B. If it starts with little c, it ends with angle C. And then the other letters that are used in the formula are the other two sides. So if it's little a squared, then it equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. If it's b squared, then it's a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine B. And if it's c squared, then you have equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine C. And again, dependent on how the question is worded or what information is given, that'll decide and help you figure out what you're going to need. So it says find x, round to the nearest tenth. So again, if it helps you to start off with a little chart, definitely do that. So I'm going to fill in the information that I have. So angle A I don't know, little a is 9, B I don't know, but little b is 11, Angle C is 28, little c is what I don't know. So you see the repetition in the C, which means that's the equation that we want to use. So we're going to use the third one. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c, and we're going to plug everything in. So just be leery as to how much you try to put in at one time. Try to simplify it to the best of your ability. What I would do is get these guys together and get these guys together and then subtract the two numbers. And then don't forget you're going to have to get the square root because it's x squared. But you should be getting in the ballpark of 5.2 when you round to the nearest tenth for that. For 4, same idea. So we've got angle M is x, little m is 8. Angle P, don't know, little p is 6. Angle Q, don't know, little q is 3. So in this case, we have to modify the letters because there's not A, B, and C, but we have double on the M. So we're going to use m squared equals p squared plus q squared minus 2pq cosine m. And we plug everything in, and then you start to move stuff little by little. So I would move this over, then I would move this over. So that goes first, that goes second. Multiply these, that's going to get moved third. And then you're going to be left with the cosine of x. So let's say you're going to be left with something along the lines of cosine x equals negative 19 over 36. So this is where the second cosine button comes in. You want cosine to the negative 1 to pop up, and that's when you type that fraction in because we're looking for an angle. And then you should be getting to the nearest degree 122 degrees. So you might be asked to solve for just one specific item, whether it be a side or an angle, or where it says important, it says when you're asked to solve a triangle, you need to find all of the missing sides and angles, which means usually you're given 3 items, you have to find the remaining 3 items. So let's write that. Find remaining 3 items. Okay. Yeah. All right, last formula here is area of an oblique triangle. So this is your 3 options: 1/2 BC sine A, 1/2 AB sine C, or 1/2 AC sine B. And notice there's no repetition in the letters. So if you're taking the sine of one angle, then the other 2 are the other 2 sides. And the nice part is, first of all, it's going to say find the area. It's the only questions we've done so far with area. You're going to be given 2 lengths, and then you're going to be given an angle. And you're just going to sub it in. So here's your 2 side lengths, here's your angle, and it's area, so you just make sure, because we were rounding, I mean, you're going to give me a decimal anyway, so don't worry about the rounding part, but just make sure because it's area, you have meters squared on there.